Hello, everyone. It's our pleasure to be here in Jerusalem with Rabbi Israel Herzog.
Shalom Aleichem. Rabbi Jacob Israel Herzog, Chief Rabbi of Saudi Arabia, father of 9 children, born and raised in New York City, lived in Jerusalem for a number of years, and now, thank God, my mission is the Jewish community of Saudi Arabia.
Why did you choose to go to Saudi Arabia?
Okay, that's a great question. It started about 5 years ago. A very important person in my life, a mentor of mine. He's not Jewish. He told me, listen, Saudi Arabia is going through this massive development plan. They're investing $7 trillion in infrastructure, building a brand new city from scratch for a few million people. This is the future. And if you feel comfortable in the Middle East, you understand the culture in the Middle East, you understand the language, that's the place to be. So if he said that to me, I thought to myself, I have to listen to this person. He was right in everything I ever heard from him in my life. So I decided, I have to start looking into this. So I started reaching out to people in Saudi Arabia who were working there to see how their interaction is with the Saudis as Jewish people and how they're received, are they respected, and everything like that. And on the other hand, we had the conventional wisdom that said, oh, you're not allowed to worship in Saudi Arabia and Jews won't be accepted over there, and that's all conventional wisdom. Yeah. And I don't believe in conventional wisdom. I said I have to see this for myself. So I went to Saudi Arabia. I went to the Masmak Fortress, like the most down-to-earth place in Riyadh. I said, I'm going to take a walk for a few hours, and I'll see how I'm received. If I'm received, and everything is okay, then we have a deal. If not, we'll find something else to do in life. So I did that, and we saw that all the conventional wisdom about how Saudi Arabia reacts to Jewish people or what their take on the situation is totally wrong. Just like most Western people don't understand the Middle East. They don't understand the Middle East. You could take probably 99.5% of all the books written on the Middle East and throw them into the garbage.
Yeah.
That's the reality of the situation. Most foreigners don't understand. They don't understand. It's a different mindset. It's a different program. It's a different operating system. And what works in the United States or in the UK is not going to work in the Middle East.
How are the Saudis approaching Jews, or let's say the whole thing of having a relationship with people that are not from their religion?
Okay, that's a very good question. The Saudis are a very well-educated and learned nation. Most of the people there are very well versed in the Quran, in worldly matters. They have, amazing exposure to media, so they know what's going on in the world. They have a very good command of history and of culture and different cultures of the world. As true Muslims who are well versed, they know who the Jewish people are, Bnei Israel, the sons of Israel, who is Yaakov, our forefather Jacob, and their whole relationship with Nabi Musa, with the prophet Moses, as they call him, or Daud, David HaMelech, and all the other Jewish prophets mentioned in the Quran. So they have a very deep understanding of who Jews are. And they also know that we used to live in the peninsula. There were Jewish tribes there, and in that culture they don't forget. So they have stories in the family which happened 1,000 years ago, and they preserve those stories. So they have their relationship with the Jewish people, and we see that Jewish people lived all over the Muslim world, in Shia countries and Sunni countries, and they lived side by side, and they had a much better situation than our brothers in Europe, for example.
Yeah.
And this was before Islam was developed and revealed to the world, and until this very day. You have Jewish communities in Shia countries, in Azerbaijan, in Iran, etc. You have all over North Africa, and thank God we see the revival of Jewish communities in the Gulf.
I saw your interview with Hidabrut, a very famous channel here in Israel. I wanted to ask you, what do you mean by Jewish pride? You were saying how it's important to have pride about the fact that we are Jews. Whether we are maybe Orthodox or more modern Orthodox or secular, like, what do you mean by having Jewish pride?
Jewish pride is basically tapping into the essence of who we are. It transcends any level of worship. It transcends any level of membership. It's the essence of how you were born. It's your God-given right, and you have it whether you like it or not. And it's going to be with you from the minute you're born and until you continue on. And it's first of all to understand what the Jewish soul is, what the value of your soul in this world is. That God put you here as a Jewish person to enlighten the world, and that without your light, the world is not going to be complete. Without your light, the redemption is not going to come. is to understand your core essence. That's what a Jewish pride begins with. Once you understand that very, very crucial element of it, then you could go on. Okay, how am I going to present myself? Am I going to present myself as a Jewish person or try to hide it? Because in the Middle East, they know that you're Jewish. You can do whatever you want. You can have a nose job. You could put a Yankees hat on. You could put a baseball cap on. But if you're Jewish, they know that you're Jewish. And if they see that you have pride in who you are, they respect you. That's another rule in the Middle East. People who are proud of their heritage, and a heritage like the Jewish people have. Mount Sinai, Egypt, our whole history. There's no other nation in the world that has such a rich history and the continuation and that survived through this amount of time.
I guess you saw, I just want to add another question. I guess you saw what's going on now in the US with all those protests and even a lot of Jews who may be sort of self-hating, they call them. I don't know, I'm not gonna, question that, but what do you see in the Jews now in the US that are behaving in such a way? Of course, we pray for them, they're gonna be Choser B'Tshuva, etc. We don't have any problem with them, but what, from your perspective, what do you see in this phenomenon?
What I see from this phenomenon is I see the revelation of their Jewish soul. It's the revelation of their core essence. You might say, why? I'll give you an example. When they spoke about defunding the police, okay? They threw an idea to the world. They're basically tapping into an idea which is in Isaiah, that in the future, you're going to have judges, shoftaich, v'yotzayich. As we have in Parshat Shoftim, we have the shoftaich, yotzayich, and shoftim v'shotrim. You're going to have judges and policemen. But in Isaiah prophesies that we're going to have a judge and an advisor. We're the policemen. In the future, you're not going to need policemen to enforce the law because everybody's going to be on such a high level of connectivity to God. The godliness is going to be totally revealed in this world. Today, godliness is covered by nature. It's all hidden. And that could be, give us the wrong picture. But in the future, in the redemption, Bezrat Hashem, when Mashiach comes, it's going to be all revealed. And we're not going to need police to enforce it. So they're basically tapping into something which is in their soul, but they have to put it into a vessel that's going to work. Because today we still need policemen to walk around and make sure that there's order and there's order and law. But they're basically, when I heard them saying that, I was like, you guys are tapping into the core essence of the prophecy of Isaiah. Everything's cool. We love you. You're our brothers. It's okay. Everybody, it takes time. They have these ideas. They want to experiment a little bit. But at the end of the day, you see here that it's basically the core essence of their Judaism.
Okay. You have been both in America, Israel, and Arabic countries, which are three different cultures, and also Persian countries. Do you see any difference in all these cultures? If you would like to maybe highlight some of the most important points, what do you see different?
Well, the common denominator is they're all people and the creations of God. Of course, every country has its culture, has its unique points. But for me, the world is one big place divided up into different neighborhoods. When I go to Iran, for example, I'm going to a different neighborhood of the world. I don't see it. I don't have borders in my mind. It holds us back from many things. It holds us back from growing. It holds us back from expanding. And the same thing, if I know that I have value to add in a certain place, I know that I'm going to go there. And if God wants me there, I'll find my way there. So the difference in cultures, of course, the difference in cultures, difference to approaches, how they look at family, how they look at being single, how they look at religion, how much is religion actually built into society, or is it something which is sort of put on the side and everybody does it very privately? There are many differences, but it's just like one big world divided up into different neighborhoods, and every place is exciting, and you find interesting people in each place that you could actually learn from.
And how it was your experience to go in Iran? And if you want, I would like to listen more to it because it's very, very interesting to hear about a Jew, religious, even Israeli, who went to Iran, who is not an Atoreka.
Well, the Lubavitcher Rebbe said in 1991 or 1992 in a discourse that a Jew does not have to hide the fact that he's a Jew anymore, and that there's no country in the world that's preventing Jews from worshiping freely. So when I learned that text for the first time, okay, you go over the text, read it, and then you come back to it again. And I say, 1 second. So why are people, they think if they work in a certain place, in New York City, for example, where I grew up, Most of the people that I knew went to synagogue, they put on a skull cap, and they went to work and took off their skull cap. In the land of the free, home of the brave, freedom of religion. Did anybody tell you to do that? No, they felt it from their inside. After 2,000 years of being persecuted in this, they just couldn't get it out of them that, yeah, you could go to work wherever you are. If it's an investment bank, if it's a law firm, or if you're selling merchandise, it doesn't matter. You could go as an open Jew, and everything will be okay. So I looked at it again, and I was in France a few years later, and I walk home from the synagogue to my hotel on Shabbat with my talit on, and who starts yelling at me? The Jewish people. They say, oh, you're going to cause us problems, they're going to do this. I said, nobody's going to do anything to me. I said, they're going to do something to you because you're afraid. But if you are not afraid, if you don't show fear, nobody's going to mess with you. Okay? And they were totally bewildered. And I was like, wow, these are the people screaming at me. I was in a neighborhood, there were many Muslim people. Yeah, and I walked home with my talit.
Wow.
Now, if you want to, so the Jewish identity is very important. So that when the Rebbe said you don't have to hide your Judaism anymore, and nobody's keeping you from worshiping your religion, so I said, okay, if I go to Iran, I don't need to hide the fact that I'm a Jew. Okay? And they were totally bewildered. And I was like, wow, these are the people screaming at me. I was in a neighborhood, there were many Muslim people. Yeah, and I walked home with my talit. So the Jewish identity is very important. So that when the Rebbe said you don't have to hide your Judaism anymore, and nobody's keeping you from worshiping your religion, so I said, okay, if I go to Iran, I don't need to hide the fact that I'm a Jew. There are 20,000 Jews living there, maybe even more, but let's say 20,000 Jews living there. Everybody knows where they are. Everybody knows where the synagogue is.
Yeah.
Saudi Arabia, they have 2,000 Jews employed there with names like Rosenzweig or Flalo or Zelbiv. They know you're Jewish, and they're working there, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So why do I have to hide the fact that I'm Jewish? They walk around, a person can walk around wherever he wants in New York City with a sikh, with a turban, with a shmak or whatever he wants, and a Jew walks around like this. So I said, if the Rebbe said that means that it's something that I learned from myself. I'm not going to tell other people what to do.
Yeah.
I understood that wherever I go in the world, I do not have to hide the fact that I'm Jewish. And anybody says, oh, go a little more low key, go a little more this. These are people that have, mercy on them. They're weak. They have fear. But I'm not built like that. Okay? I come from a different neighborhood. I moved to another neighborhood later in life where it's even more important to understand that if you have power, you're respected.
Yeah.
And if you walk around in fear, the Middle East smells fear. And when they smell fear, they gobble you up. But if you don't have fear, you're respected. And that's where you start living together in coexistence.
This way of living, let's say, when people were telling you to be low key, more low key, don't make notice yourself. Was it also related to, for example?
If you walk around in fear, the Middle East smells fear. And when they smell fear, they gobble you up. But if you don't have fear, you're respected. And that's where you start living together in coexistence.
This way of living, let's say, when people were telling you to be low key, more low key, don't make a fuss, don't make notice yourself. Was it also related to, for example, to concepts of Judaism? Like, because you met a lot of Jews all around the world that told you, like, in this neighborhood we don't do like this. In this neighborhood, this thing it's not for everybody, etc. What do you think can be done because there are a lot of people also who are very, very proud of being Jewish, and there are also some concepts that needs to be transmitted, even though they are very, very hard to absorb.
Like anything in life, if you want to pass a message on, if it's to your children, if it's to your community, setting an example is the best way. The only way you could really educate your kids to get up on time in the morning is to get up on time.
Yeah.
If you want your kids to go with you to synagogue on Shabbat, you're going to have to go to synagogue on Shabbat. If you want, anything, it's setting an example. And I'm positive that what I've done in my years in the Middle East, walking around the way I walk around, I influenced thousands of Jews that, yes, they could also do it. I empowered them. I gave them the power and the belief and the security that, yes, they could also do it. It's not something that's only mine. Like I said, it's their God-given right. It's the essence of their soul, even if it's hidden and covered at the moment.
Yeah.
But they could take it to, the highest, to infinitive levels of revelation. And it only brings light to the world, because our job in this world is to be a light to the nations. And how are we going to be a light to the nations when you're always trying to dim the light? So those people, okay, have mercy on them. Maybe they weren't taught, like how to, like they didn't, they don't know how to rough themselves up a little
Yeah,
bit. But it'll
exactly.
come, when things start to change, it'll have an influence on them, and it's okay. Everybody has their pace. You can't rush people. You can't force people. You have to understand people. You have to be able to embrace them the way they are. Accept the person, not to be judgmental. Also,
Yeah.
that's another thing. You cannot be judgmental of a person. I don't know what his background is, what he experienced in life. So I know what I do and what I preach. I do, and it has a very, very serious impact all over the world. Because today the exposure of social media, you could walk down the street in Riyadh, and like the famous one where I'm dancing with the person in the
Yeah, yeah,
market.
I saw it.
It has, last time I checked, it had like, I don't know, 5 million views. Okay, and that's before being downloaded and put on TikTok by all these
Yeah,
people. So
exactly.
so imagine tens of millions of people around the world see this, and you can't escape it. Once you saw an image,
Yeah.
it's planted in your brain.
Do you think that the West is losing its culture and this is also impacting Jews in the process?
The West and the whole world is going through a big transition. Today, the biggest conflict is truth against false. And that's what the world is basically dealing with in the past decade, if not longer. We see it in many different things. If it was the whole thing around COVID, if it now we see the most documented massacre and pogrom ever in the history of the world, and people still are denying that there was a massacre, right?
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
the most documented. You have the most evidence. So today there's a very big struggle between true and false, between emet and shekel.
Yeah.
And the whole world is going through this. Everybody in the world has been thrown out of their comfort zone many times in the past couple of years, emet and shekel.
Yeah.
And the whole world is going through this. Everybody in the world has been thrown out of their comfort zone many times in the past couple of years. Look at COVID. Everybody was thrown out of their comfort zone. You were used to traveling, going on vacation. No more. Okay. We have this situation now in Israel. People are being thrown out of their comfort zone because God wants the world to come to the era of Mashiach. And if people won't change, then, Mashiach is going to come at a certain given point. But
Yeah.
we could make it happen before. How? If we do different things to make it, to expedite it, okay? But the world is going through major transitions. If it's floods, nature, we see things happening in nature, tsunamis and everything like that. If a person just opens his eyes and sees what's going on, he'll understand this is something that the last decade, for example, in the history of the world, it's unprecedented. And the common denominator, one of the few, is people are being thrown out of their comfort zones. I believe every day I need to throw myself out of my comfort zone. If I don't feel anxiety at least a few times a day, then I know that I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah.
I'm not achieving anything. God isn't giving anybody a discount. People are used to getting a discount coupons and everything
Yeah,
like that.
exactly.
There's no more discount. God wants everybody in the world to bring out their maximum potential. And sometimes along the way, people might have a sort of transition time or developing a new idea, which at the essence is a good idea, but it's still, cooking and digesting until it comes to a level which is the way God wants it to be revealed in this world.
When you were a reservist, when you donned the uniform of the IDF, how did your friends in Saudi Arabia reacted to this event?
I'm actually still donning this uniform. I've been in the service now for about 200 and I don't know how many days. And I have a short break now, which I took so I could also have this interview with you.
Thanks.
But Sunday, it's back to what I'm doing in the IDF in down south, adding value, contributing to our efforts down there. But the reaction from the Saudis was, wow, this is good, because they see it as a person, fighting for their land, fighting for their people, and that's something which is totally natural. We see disordered, things like a war in Syria, so everybody's running away. Why are you running away? Fight for your land.
Yeah, exactly.
In the United States, people were there and they fought in the Civil War, then in the independence and everything like that. They didn't run away. So that now there's a new trend in the world of let's turn everybody into a refugee. But when they see a person, first of all, like I said, they respect power, right?
Yeah.
You know how to mess somebody up, right?
Yeah, exactly.
What was I taught to do in the Army in 1996? I
So
started
you're
off
self-respectful.
in artillery, okay?
You wanna-
I served in the security zone in South Lebanon.
Wow.
all over, Judea and Samaria. I served in the security zone in South Lebanon,
Wow.
all over, Judea and Samaria. For the Second Lebanese War, I came back to Israel from Saudi Arabia 2 days before Simchat Torah, and the war broke out, and it was only natural that I get back on my uniform, join my reserve unit. I was, transferred to a different unit right in the beginning. The Army asked me if I could go there. I didn't know too much about this new unit that they wanted me to go to, but I've been there ever since. And the Saudis respect that because living a military life is not simple. And, it says a lot about a person. Military, it's discipline, it's power, it's respect, and it also shows how a person is really connected to his people and to his land and to his identity. Because when a person is willing to sacrifice his life, the ultimate sacrifice, to sacrifice his life for those beliefs, it's like that in anywhere in the world. If you want to build a big business and make a big success, if you're not willing to die for that cause, you're not going to succeed. Now that's metaphorically, but you might have to die along the way by giving up on different things along the way in order to reach the end.
Exactly.
You might, have the question is, do you have the power to have the pain to reach where you want to go, to reach that success?
Okay.
Every mentor is going to tell you, are you willing to bear the pain until you reach the your goal? And a person in the military, I went to the military when I was 20 years old. Over the years, I've done hundreds of reserve days, even after I finished my chovah.
Okay.
And here we're back in the Army, so it's a bigger sacrifice now because I have a wife and 9 children.
Yeah.
And I'm home, I'm away from home for, extended periods of time.
Yeah.
So they're also onboarded on this. They're also engaged, and they understand what we're doing and have their support, which is, without it wouldn't happen, or like anything in life that I've accomplished. Without my wife, I wouldn't be able to get
Yeah,
there.
exactly. I understand.
And but like getting back to your question, to sum it up, the Saudis respect it. They understand why I'm doing it, and they have no problem with it whatsoever. On the contrary, I think my stock price actually went up.
How did the Jewish congregation started in Saudi Arabia?
When I started looking at Saudi Arabia about 5 years ago, I got to the numbers to understand that there are 2,000 Jewish people employed in the kingdom. And I started reaching out to people there, and everybody, was living their own life. Some people, were doing Shabbat meals by themselves. Maybe they had a neighbor which was also Jewish. I had to start pulling people together into a community because I'm coming back to a place where the Jewish community officially hasn't been active for about 500 to 600 years. Near the border of Bahrain, there are areas which were under the Turkish rule, which under the Ottoman Empire were very active.
Yeah.
Just from the size of the cemetery that you see in over there in that city, you could see that it was a very substantial community. It was during the Ottoman Empire. And before that, the Portuguese ruled that area. In other areas like Medina or Riyadh, the community hasn't been existent, I would say, for at least 1,200 years. But south in Yemen, we also have the Jewish people who, in 1932, were basically put into Saudi Arabia because that's where the border basically disconnected them from Yemen. I basically had to start collecting people again. None of them are originally from Saudi Arabia. None of them are indigenous. None of them were, like there for many years. They all came. Most of the people, the Jews in Saudi Arabia today, came to work. They're employed there, right? They're adding value. If they don't add value, they leave. Or they might come for a soccer game or something like that, or for a short visit or for a business trip. But nobody's like there full time for a few generations. You don't have old timers and things like that. So it's a much different community. But I had to start pulling people together because the idea of meeting on Shabbat or having a Megillah reading on Purim or a public Seder for the community didn't exist. And I didn't come to a place where I already had an existing foundation and infrastructure of a synagogue, of a Sefer Torah. Here we're starting from scratch, everything.
Wow.
Everything from scratch. And the hardest part was getting people, to the idea and the understanding, yes, you could come and we could have Shabbat together in Riyadh and everything's going to be okay. Seder was very good. This is the second year that we had a Seder. It was very substantial. We brought in, the best and the finest matzot, the kosher meat and everything like that. And whoever's in Saudi Arabia, also the families living in other parts of the country outside of Riyadh, we also make sure that handmade shmura matzah, kosher meat, kosher cheeses, chalav Israel, everything.
Wow.
So it's a project, and it's something, just to understand, just to grasp. In July, we have to start, working on the matzot
Mm-hmm.
in order to, like put in the order and everything.
Yeah.
In early January, it has to start shipping out. Everything is a project, but thank God we have the ability and the capability to do it. There's a demand for it, because if there was no demand, I wouldn't, have who to service and
Yeah.
who to work with in Saudi Arabia. So thank God the Jews there, when they're in a place like that where it was strange up until a few years ago to be open as a Jew
Mm-hmm.
and to have these things. Sometimes it's easier for them to deepen their relationship or reassess their relationship with their religion, their identity, who they are,
Mm-hmm.
and basically, open a new chapter, which is very positive.
How did you feel when you started this amazing project?
Well, I'm turned on and attracted to people who have bodacious goals,
Mm-hmm.
who have unreal expectations, and those are the people who I usually wind up working with, or the environments I usually work in. That's been, the for the past 25 years.
Mm-hmm.
So Saudi Arabia now is basically the 2030 vision
Mm-hmm.
is one very big bodacious goal,
Yeah.
which a lot of people in the West and the world, they're skeptical about. But
Mm-hmm.
like I say, if you aim for the stars and you reach the moon, then you're already ahead of the game.
Yeah, exactly.
So aim for the stars, and that's what they're doing. Like they're speaking about Neom now.
Yeah.
They're not going to build the whole thing. They're only going to build a little. It's over budget. It's going to be late. At the end of the day, whatever they open up, it's going to be bigger than anything else ever dared to do. A year before, 5 years before, they had their doubts, right? Everyone's going to start. It's like, wow, yeah, we knew you were going to do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the moment I reached Saudi Arabia almost 3 years ago, I said, listen, they're going to achieve these goals. They're going to do it, because the king and his son who are leading the country today, they have, first of all, they have the vision,
Mm-hmm.
they have the courage,
Mm-hmm.
and they have the funds to do it. And they don't listen, the noise, the background noise of the world and everything like that doesn't interest them.
Yeah.
If I wasn't a rabbi, I would say something else. They couldn't, it doesn't interest them.
Mm-hmm.
They know where they're going. They get up in the morning, they know what their vision is, they know what they have to do, and they get it done.
Mm-hmm.
They bring in the best and brightest people. You see it from, like what's already being revealed to the world. You can
Yeah.
see just from the Riyadh metro system. Every train station
Mm-hmm.
is an art piece. It's a treasure in itself.
Mm-hmm.
So it's done, not only getting a train done in under a decade. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
you're talking about 125 stations, 5 or 6 lines, hundreds of kilometers of stuff in under a decade. This was never done in the world.
Wow.
Okay, this is something that sometimes takes countries 50, 60 years.
Yeah.
The London tube is still going through, expansion and everything like that. The New York's mass rapid transit system has its problems, and here in under a decade,
Mm-hmm.
okay, so maybe they have a little delay or something like that, a little off budget, but at the end of the day,
They
it's
get
about
done.
the execution. They got it done, and that's the way it's being done with all the other projects. If it's Qiddiya, if it's the Red Sea development,
Mm-hmm.
so people could be skeptical, but most of those people really didn't accomplish that much in their life on their own, so they don't know what it's like.
As we saw that, Jewish life is successful now in Saudi Arabia, let's call it this way. How is on the day to day for you being a rabbi over there? Like you wake up, you are in Riyadh or wherever you are. What is the day to day life of the Jewish community over there?
On the day to day, people go to work.
Mm-hmm.
We're in touch with them. In the middle of the week, sometimes we might have a class.
Mm-hmm.
We have usually the visitors who are coming in want to come and see us. That's more in the afternoon. Also, Riyadh is a city with many trade shows. Almost every week there's a different convention, and I try to go to every single one and make a round, so that, because a lot of the people that I met that know me in Saudi Arabia and are part of our community, either by visiting membership or actually living there, are people that I random encounters.
Mm-hmm.
So every show I try to go to at least once, and first of all, see what's going on, because a lot of people also ask me, like, I'm looking for a company that specializes in this type of alloy of metal or something. I say, you know what, I was at a show, I remember this. Look at their website, call them up, and stuff like that. But it's basically, that's the best way, the random encounters
Yeah.
to find Jewish people, and also many amazing Saudi people that I know,
Mm-hmm.
that I'm very friendly with, were from these random encounters at these trade conventions and shows.
Mm-hmm.
So, in the morning you have to do what a rabbi does. You pray. You have to spend time studying to keep up, to keep your memory focused. And you must know that a Jewish rabbi had to study a lot, and he still has a lot more to study.
Yeah,
He's never
exactly.
going to finish studying.
Mhm.
So you have to invest in that. Make your rounds in town. Some people have a new office. They want a mezuzah.
Mhm.
They want a class. They want a conversation.
Mhm.
Like I said, the trade shows, hosting people. People want to come over for a meal, and then working on the time frame. You have holidays coming up, organizing all the logistics around these holidays,
Mhm.
and whatever it is.
It's a challenging job, let's say.
Well, absolutely, it's not boring, but like I say, I wish that I'm blessed that I have something to do, that I get up every morning, that I could keep on doing it. I don't get tired from doing it,
Yeah.
and I bless everybody in the world that they also have a job
Mhm.
or occupation that they enjoy doing, because more than half of the world, they go to a job that they hate,
Mhm.
but they just don't have the courage
Mhm.
to leave.
Mhm.
So, Baruch Hashem, thank God, I enjoy what I do. I enjoy the people I work with. Like I said, those are the people that turn me on, that I'm attracted to, that they attract me,
Mhm.
and thank God, God put me in that place.
Do you see a future for Jews in Saudi Arabia?
Well, I don't tell Jewish people where to get up and to go live. Okay, if a person asks me, should I come live in Saudi Arabia, I'm going to tell them, listen, I'm not the right person to ask.
Mhm.
If a person received an opportunity in Saudi Arabia, we're there to give them whatever they need to have a full Jewish life. In
Yes,
Saudi
sorry. You were
Arabia,
saying?
yeah. So I don't tell people, like, oh, let's start a brand new community and please come move to Saudi Arabia. No, every Jew, if he's not doing something specific, adding value outside of Eretz Israel, he should be in Eretz Israel.
Mhm.
Okay, but if they're already in Saudi Arabia and they have whatever it is, for whatever reason that brought them there, like I
Mhm.
said, I'm not judgmental. I'm not telling people to come or not to come. If
Mhm.
they're in Saudi Arabia, we're there to provide them whatever they need.
Mhm.
As a Jewish people, we're there to enlighten Saudi Arabia, to prepare Saudi Arabia for the coming and the revelation of Mashiach.
Mhm.
That's our job over there. So I'm not, opening a campaign, okay, come live
Yeah,
in
exactly.
Saudi Arabia.
Mhm.
Everybody's going to live where their blessing for livelihood and for livelihood is, for
Mhm.
parnasah, and wherever it's good for them. But if they happen to be in Saudi Arabia, we're there for them,
Mhm.
as well as to add value to Saudi Arabia in any way we can.
What is the final advice that you would like to give to all of those that will watch this video, Bezat Hashem?
My advice to you is believe in yourself, believe in the power that God gave you, believe in the essence that you have, believe in the mission to bring your personal light to this world. Believe that that light is something which the world needs,
Mhm.
and that you're a part of the revelation of the redemption in this world. And if
Mhm.
everybody understands that without them
Mhm.
something is missing, they'll feel much better. They don't feel good, they're depressed and everything like that. But if they really truly understand that the world needs them
Mhm.
exactly with their tool set, with exactly with their skills, and exactly with the way they are.
Mhm.
Today, people are too obsessed about changing themselves and everything like that, but in the wrong way.
Why is it wrong?
Because when a person, first of all, understands the core essence of his soul
Mhm.
and what's interfering between his spiritual side and his material side,
Mhm.
he'll be a much better performer.
Mhm.
If you understand what your essence is, a person might be very hyperactive, or be very fidgety with his fingers, but he might be a great pianist.
Yeah, exactly.
But in a classroom, or a teacher might try to shut that element out of him, and I don't understand. Okay, let's see what the natural gift this person has,
Mhm.
and bring it out to the world. So a lot of people are, everybody's, wants to go to the gym and their biceps and their glutes and everything like that. That's good. People have to be healthy.
Yeah, exactly.
But if you look at your core essence of the gifts that God gave you in your soul and in your mind to bring
Mhm.
to the world, the knowledge or the art or whatever it is that you could bring to this world,
Mhm.
that's where people will feel much better. So, like I said, believe in yourselves. If you have something that you currently see as a problem, it might be actually be a very big gift. We
Mhm.
just have to guide it in a
Mhm.
positive way.
Perfect. Rabbi, thank you very much. It was a pleasure.